start with the lovely raspberry tart. So this is made with lots of real fruit.
And it's got the base beer is Oud Bruin, old brown, so slightly sour brown ale.
It's such a pretty brownish red. It's not quite as neon red as the red beer from them, but
yeah,
it's got definitely got some red hints to it.
Yeah, it's lovely.
My first whiff of this takes me back to those they look like little raspberries made out of candy, and they would often have like a little bit of powder in the inside of them. Usually you'd see them in in your grandmother's candy dish at the holidays, and the aroma takes me right back to those.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the raspberries come out right out front.
There's a little bit of funk in the back, but not really much. It's not a particularly funky beer. It's really showing off the fruit more than anything. And
the hops are little to none, and the malt is very restrained. There's a little bit, would you say almost like a caramely malt in the background?
Yeah, there is just a little bit. I do get a little caramel sweetness maybe up front before the tartness really starts to work its way down the sides of your tongue.
Mm-hmm.
This beer finishes up tart and dry. I mean, it's also quite effervescent, which is helping to dry it out as well. Serve this with or as dessert. You can absolutely serve this with chocolate. You can serve it with richer cheeses. More of the really creamy cheeses. I wouldn't get into the, you certainly wouldn't get into any of the blue cheeses with this probably, but you could easily go with some of the aged cheddar. The salty, the salt crystals and stuff that show up in some of the aged cheddars would really play off well against the sour and the little bit of sweetness in this. This one is such a treat, and it's one of the few things that I sort of regret that New Glarus has not made themselves widely available across the nation, because these two, both of their fruit beers, are just so over the top and so wonderful compared to most of the things that's coming out of American breweries with fruit in them, that it's a shame that not everybody gets a chance to see them. Although maybe it's better; they all have to worry about it and come looking for it when they come. They
more for us.
Yeah, they have
more for us.
Yeah, I can't imagine what the price would go like if there was nationwide demand for this beer.
They would probably have to stop making Cudweiser and start making this stuff.
What else would you serve this with? Would you serve this with a main dish or not?
Well, I've often brought this down for Thanksgiving, so I think this would work very well with a Thanksgiving, like some kind of roasted fowl, like a turkey or a ham, and I think it would hold up well to some fatty dishes. Yeah. I think it's got a lot of acid to it, and I think it would balance with either creaminess or smokiness. So I think it works well in it. Rather than having a red wine, say, at dinner, of a large dinner, you could have this.
Right. And years ago, the recommendation for with turkey was to serve a rosé, and this certainly has some of those things from some of those rosés we may have stolen in our youth. What was it, Battus? Oh.
I think it was Mogan David for me, but hard for me to remember.
Certainly. Certainly, exactly. I mean, I wouldn't go so much as where you would have a red wine, a big red wine. It's not going to stand up to a cut of beef. It might stand up to a leg of lamb. Probably too much for a lamb chop. I like the idea of ham, duck. It'd be nice to do, if you were to do you could even do a raspberry reduction on the duck as well and play it off against that.
Sounds good.
Here's to our first beer for our Valentine's Day episode.
Cheers.